So I was using servers. Now we're going to move into understanding servers and let's really understand what's going on there. And so here are the essentials, which is what we covered at the beginning of class. And to understand web dev with Go, you must understand these core concepts. And so one of them is the concept of interface, and that's also defining functionality, right? So we say, hey, type humanoid interface, and then speak return string. And so if you have a type that has that method, has a method called speak, and it returns a string, then implicitly you're implementing the humanoid interface. We saw that example. So we're defining functionality. Also sometimes defining behavior is the way people will talk about it. Hey, anything of this type has this behavior. Anything that's a shape has the behavior of having a method that is area. You can calculate the area of it, right? And so anything that has this method, area, anything that has that method implicitly is implementing the shape interface, right? So it's almost like you're two types. You are a square and you're a shape. You're a circle and you're a shape. So we could have another function that takes a shape and we could pass in a circle or a square. Interfaces. So that's one of the things we have to understand. The other thing is we have to understand the request response pattern. And on the web, clients, user agents make requests and then the server responds. And so we're going to see that request response thing. We've already seen it. And then we have to understand type handler from the HTTP package. Remember when you see this dot something else, it's the package dot function or type or variable, or constant. So this is always the package, and this is referring to something in the package. So we have to understand the handler type. And the handler type is an interface. And so it's an interface that defines this functionality. So any other type in the world that has a serve HTTP method that takes these two arguments, so a serve HTTP with the parameter response writer and request, is implementing the handler interface. And so remember that the web is about requests and responses, right? And we're going to handle those requests and those responses. And so, here we have a request and a response, and it's going to call a serve HTTP method function. And so anything with a serve HTTP function which handles requests and responses, that implements the handler interface. And so that's just a piece you got to know, because you're going to be like, this takes a handler. You'll be like, oh, cool, yeah, I know what a handler is. Let's go find some type that has that method, has that function attached to it, and I could stick that in there because it's a handler, right? I could create an int and attach this method to it and pass it in as a handler because it's got that method. And then that method, maybe I created it, and I just say what the hell that method does, right? So wherever a handler is needed, I pass it in. So don't get, interfaces. The web's about requests and responses, and that when a request comes in, we have to handle that. So we've defined a handler interface that has this functionality. So we're going to see that in action. A handler will handle a request by providing a response. That's kind of it. And so there are some synonymous terms which we're going to learn, and they could confuse people. They have confused me. But we talk about web servers, and so we could say, hey, server, like the last word there. But we could also say serve mux, or multiplexer, or request router, or router. And in web programming, and in Go, as far as I can tell, all those words are pretty much synonymous. Okay? So multiplexer comes from engineering. Multiplex is like, if you look it up, I've got a key stuck around my finger. Here we go. Multiplex. Let's see what multiplexer brings up. Multiplexer, electronics. Or MUX is a device that selects one of several analog or digital input signals and forwards the selected input into a single line. All right, well, cool. That's in electronics. But that's kind of what a server's doing, right? Something comes in, and I select where it goes out. Comes in a dog, it goes out to this one. Comes in at me, it goes out to hello Todd. Right? Depending upon the route it comes in, a multiplex, right? Multiplexer. A multiplexer can be abbreviated MUX. It could be called a serve MUX, right? Or it could be called a server, or just a router or request router. So don't get confused by those things. All right? When you hear any of those, just think server. So that's just the essentials. So next we're going to talk a little bit about the request and the response, and I'll do that in the next video.